Hey everybody, Jay Super Awesome here. I'd like to welcome you all to week number 6 of the TheHORRORman's SlashBack Saturday Challenge. This week's slasher movie theme is Factual Slashers, and I will be giving my review for Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. Okay, so getting into the plot for this one. Inspired by the true story of the most gruesome serial killer in American history. The gruesome murders shocked the world. The grisly remains told a terrifying story of pain, brutality, and torture. Now, years after inspiring Psycho's Norman Bates, The Silence of the Lambs' Buffalo Bill, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre's Leatherface, the story of real-life serial killer Gein is finally told. Nicknamed the Butcher of Plainfield, Gein was responsible for a rash of gory murders that sent shockwaves through his rural Wisconsin town and across America in the late 1950s. Prepare to enter the evil mind and twisted world of the Butcher of Plainfield in this dark and disturbing thriller. Okay, so getting into my thoughts for this one. With this week's SlashBack Challenge theme of factual slashers, I chose to watch and review Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield, basically because it's inspired by the true story of the most gruesome serial killer in American history. On front of the DVD it says, the notorious serial killer who inspired Psycho and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Also, this movie has Kane Hodder and Michael Berryman in it, so I thought, why not? So just like all the other slasher movies that I have already mentioned that were inspired by Gein, this movie has a similar setup, but I would say that this movie has a more simplistic, basic slasher movie style. I thought the movie was okay, and I feel like it's worth watching at least one time if you are interested in the Gein's story. Now, how close of an interpretation that this movie is to actual events, I'm not going to be able to tell you in this video, but I can tell you that they tried to focus on a lot of the things that Gein was known for, such as grave robbing, using parts of the body as decorations, and it was also mentioned one time in the movie that he would actually return the pieces back to the grave that he wasn't going to use. And I found that to be really interesting. There is one brief scene in the movie where he is wearing human skin. It's a really cool scene, and considering Kane Hodder's size, he really looked like Leatherface, so it was a really awesome scene. But it was a brief scene, and the same could be said for some of the other scenes that I had already mentioned. It's some of the stuff that I wish they would have focused on a little bit more. But we do get a lot of the more dramatic storyline elements. We see the emotional trauma he is suffering for the loss of his family, and more in particular, his mother. He still sees visions of her, and a lot of times it's these visions that sets him off. This movie has a really gritty, low-budget slasher movie look to it, and I really enjoyed that. But my biggest issue with this movie is the quality of the audio. There are several scenes throughout this movie where conversations are being had, and I couldn't even make out what they were saying, so I had the volume cranked up, and it was still a struggle to hear what was going on. That was really frustrating. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the cast of characters we have in Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield. And as you already know, Gein is this storyline's main character. He does have one friend in this movie, played by Michael Berryman. He plays a short part, but I thought it was really awesome that he was in this movie. A few of the side characters we have is the Plainfield Police Department, a few locals from around town, but one of the deputies plays a pretty important part in this movie, along with his girlfriend, and also his mother plays an important part in this movie. Overall, I didn't really think the acting was all that great, aside from Kane Hodder and Michael Berryman, but I didn't think it was terrible either. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the most important part of a slasher movie, that is the killer and the kills. So I have already talked some about Gein, so I'm going to talk about Kane Hodder in this role, and I thought he did a really good job. Of course, he is a really big dude, and he just gives a really big and intimidating look for this version of the Ed Gein character. And I also thought he did a really good job with the emotional side of the character. Now, of course, the real-life Ed Gein was not Kane Hodder's size, but I'm not going to blame this on Kane Hodder for being cast in this role. I thought he did a really good job with what he had to work with. Overall, we get a few pretty decent kills in this movie. I don't consider it to be a high body count movie. One of my favorite kills is where he grabs the gravekeeper, shoves his head between two trees, and grabs a large stick and bashes his head in. So that was a really cool scene. And overall, this movie is going to be really hard for me to recommend, but I do recommend you checking it out. If you are interested in Ed Gein, you should probably check out this version and see what you think about it. I thought it was okay. I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. So please like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know if you have seen Ed Gein, the Butcher of Plainfield, or just let me know what you think about my review. And I would like to thank you all for watching.